thank you for joining me. My name is Carlos. Fix the camera here, it should be all set up. My name is Carlos. Thank you for joining me again on this bodybuilding journey, everything physique and building up your strength and all that good stuff. So today we're going to be getting into a back and shoulder session review and going over some concepts. Specifically, do you need to do certain isolation exercises if your major compounds are supposed to be taking care of those areas? Specifically, do you need to do front delt work if you are heavy, if you are bench pressing heavy, incline bench pressing, and why would you need to build out your front delts if you're getting enough compound work? This was a mantra, and you'll hear this on the internet. People, especially in the powerlifting camp, Massive Strength, I think it's called, Steve Shaw and others, and many others actually, absolutely frown on the idea of doing front delt work if you are doing compound lifts. You don't need to do that. And I bought into this for a long time. You know, I was doing my heavy bench presses, my heavy inclines, and I said, well, why would I need to do front delts? I'm getting enough front delt work from my bench pressing, right? And it turns out that that just wasn't the case. And I started to observe Olympia preps, a lot of these competitors doing front delt raises. And I said, why would this guy who can do like 450 pounds on an incline be doing front delt raises? That's the complete opposite of what the internet influencers are telling people not to do. And yet this guy is trying to make a living at his bodybuilding, and he's doing front raises. I started to see a pattern where almost every single one of these guys are doing front delt raises. And they're doing heavy bench presses, they're doing heavy hammer presses, they're doing all kinds of exercises for their chest, and yet they still do specificity for their front delts. And I took a long, hard look at my own physique, and I noticed that my side delts were overdeveloped, my front delts were not. And why? My side delts were getting most of the work done from the flat bench. Personal biometrics, my personal, measurements favored that particular muscle over my front delts. And so I had to review of what do I need to do, and I'm going to start doing front delt raises. Started out very light, the barbell, no weight, just doing these very, very basic light movements for the first couple of sessions. Then started building up with the dumbbells in tandem, 20 pounders, 25, 30 pounders, and then I started doing 40 pounders isolaterally, these isolateral 40 pounders. And at that point, I started to notice that my front delts were starting to grow. They were visibly changing. I had not seen them this way ever. A little bit of vascularity where there was none before, a deeper cut separating the upper part of the biceps. And so I started to get more enthused about the front delts and bumped the weight up to 45 pounds and then up to 50 pounds. And then at 50-pound dumbbells, I started seeing greater results, even though the form was not to the liking of some people on the internet. They were saying, lower the weight. And of course, I answered them, well, if you're making the lift too easy, you're not struggling enough, you're not putting in enough effort. So instead of lowering the weight, I actually increased it up to 55 pounds. And so now I'm doing it with 55 pounds, doing drop sets, and the result of that is greater front delt development. I noticed that over my vacation. Last few days I stopped training. Obviously, I'm on vacation for Easter, and I'm noticing the visible difference in my delts. And it's all about the front delt raise. And I'm still doing heavy incline bench presses. And so I figure, and I reason to myself, and I say, this internet thing really sucks. By and large, most of the information you see out there, or you hear, is going to be biased, and it's not going to be the absolute truth. Which is why I say, I don't have the absolute truth. I always admonish and advise everybody who listens to find out what they need to do for their particular physiques. Perhaps the free bar squat is not for them. Perhaps it's the hack squat. Even though you hear the squat is the king of all lifts. And that just may not be true. That's a statement somebody says, and it's repeated like people are parrots. I mean, it's the king of exercises. It's the king of exercise. It's like ad infinitum, a billion voices. It's the king of exercises. That's bullshit. It's not true. It's not necessarily true. It might be so for somebody or for some people, but not for every person, or probably not for most people. And so you hear these mantras: lower the weight, the deadlift is king, the squat, the this, that, and the other, and they make these videos stating like a dogmatic, because it's becoming a religion now, more divisive than politics, your opinion on muscle building. Is this an opinion? Well, I have my personal take from experience of the mistakes I've made and what's working now, and this is why I say I may not have the absolute truth, but I can certainly say for absolute certainty that you are probably needing to do something different that you are doing because you are repeating something that somebody else said. Find out what works for you. The age-old admonishment of wise man know thyself still stands. It's eternal. If you are wise, if you want to be smart about things, find out what you need. Not what the internet says, not what Jeff Nippert or Steve Shaw or Athlean X, whatever, are saying. They have to produce content to make money. Thank God I don't depend on this, because, I'd be broke. I'm not making money on YouTube. But I need to get these ideas out. This is what I'm doing. This is my journey. I'm building strength. I'm going to be 60 next year. I've never been so strong, so lean, so happy, and so healthy in my life, building my physique. And I fully expect to be even better when I'm 65. Oh, you can't increase your strength. You'll lose this, after a certain age. It's all lies also. People have been telling lies forever. You could probably get as massively strong into your 80s. With the proper nutrition, technology, lifting, dedication to lifestyle, proper calorie count, proper hormone supplementation, all these things. If you do it just right, you can probably get, your best physique when you're 83. But that's not heard of. That's not done. Well, I mean, you can believe whatever. Give it a try. I'm fully sold on this idea, and I am making my best gains. Not injured. I'm not injuring my joints lifting heavy weights. That's another fallacy. So many lies. Everybody's just full of shit, man. So I admonish everybody out there listening to this video to find out what it is that you need. If your heavy bench pressing is not building out your front delts, do some isolation work. It's not going to detract from your training. You're not going to be overtrained. You're not going to be, I can't recuperate now for my next session. Oh my God, such bullshit. Just all lies. Half-truths. So, find out what works for you. This week's session, this video presentation, back and shoulder. Did some isolation work on the back, just pumping it up to get the shoulder girdle moving. Get those teres muscles, the rhomboids, the mid-back, the lower lat, everything just tightened, loosening it up and pumping it up. Then going for the heavy barbell row. Yeah. Heavy barbell row. From there, doing the isolation work. Heavy concentration curls. It used to be old school, and this used to be a thing, where people would be trying to do 100-pound dumbbell curls. That's right. Larry Scott, 100-pound dumbbells on the preacher curl. Today, if you do 40 pounds, somebody's going to be on the internet saying, you're going to tear your bicep. You don't need to lift heavy weight to build your muscle. You should be making a lightweight heavy. And I say that's asinine and backward. You should be making a heavyweight light. Get real strength. And so with these concentration curls, preacher curls, dumbbell curls, don't stay with 35s and 40s forever. You should be doing 65s, 70-pound dumbbells, maybe 80s. This is how the pros do it. You don't think they don't? You think these people are lifting, because you saw some video of Jay Cutler doing 20-pound curls. You actually believe that that's how he trains. Well, I've seen other videos where he's swinging hundreds. That's right, heavy weight, because you will not build that type of massive muscle with those tiny weights that you think they're using. You need to lift heavy and progressively overload your muscles over time with heavier and heavier weight. Today, on this video, I show I'm doing 90-pound dumbbells on my rear delts, isolaterally. It's easier to do isolaterally, obviously, than two at a time. But two at a time, I can get them up to 65 and 70 pounds. Is it super strict? What do you mean by super strict? What do you mean by that? I'm lifting the weight to the point where I'm cramping, almost getting a cramp on my rear delt with 90 pounds. And it felt easy. I mean, it feels heavy. You know, it used to be where 40 pounds was my limit. 40 pounds felt heavy on the rear delts. I said, man, this is heavy. And you don't see people at the gym doing more than 35 or 40 pounds, so obviously it's not something that you can do, right? Well, I'm up to 90 pounds. And God willing, I'll be going up to 110 pounds. And if I had 150s, I'd give those a ride eventually. It's my hobby. It's a thing that I like to do. You don't need to do this. You don't need to do anything. You can stay at home, not work out. It's a hobby of mine to try to lift heavier and heavier and heavier. And for some reason, I'm able to do that. And getting stronger at it. Getting better over time. So I admonish everybody to give it a try. You're not going to get injured. Your arm is not going to fall off. You're not going to get bursitis, carpal tunnel. Man, these fears. Everybody's governed by their fear god. You know, it's like, oh my God, I'm going to get hurt. You can get injured. Yeah, you can get injured walking across the street. You can stumble. You know, you can fall on your knee. You can break your femur. Just walking. This is how old people usually die. You know, they break their hip in the shower. Not training. So this fear of injury. Get good at what you're doing. Avoid injury. Be competent. Get good. You can do that. You're smart. Anyways, God bless everybody. Thank you for joining me in this journey and putting up with my rant. I hope it has triggered somebody and that some other people will be edified and understand that you can take this wherever you want to go. You can get as strong as you want. You can be as healthy and as fit as you choose to be and as happy. You can be a happy person, man. So don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you in our next video. Today, back in shoulder session, last session before our Easter week vacation here in Colombia. So I decided to do a light pump session, nothing really strenuous, but as always, my enthusiasm always gets me carried away. Here we start off with some cable pumps, low row cable pumps, isolateral, pumping one side at a time. Just really try to get some blood flowing into the area before we get into the other major compounds. In this case, I think it will be back rows. Yes, barbell back rows, which I haven't done in a few weeks. So I find this particular movement highly effective for stretching, pumping, and just priming the back muscles for blood flow, for getting them pumped. Not, you know, for absolute strength or anything like that. Just really get the shoulder girdle moving. And here we go into our meat and potatoes. Straight into the barbell row. One plate, bringing it to the groin, not to the chest. There are different ways of doing this barbell row, but if you want to go for mass and absolute maximum strength on the barbell row, you bring it to your groin. If you bring it to your chest, obviously your angle of attack is at a disadvantage. You will put your lower back in a position where it could get hurt. So here is just optimal as far as leverage goes, and you can pump in as much weight as you can handle. So here we're just going for 2 plates. Usually I do 8 to 10 reps, and today I was feeling extraordinarily easy, and so we got some extra reps in today. And just really focusing on the mind-muscle connection, which the cable isolateral rows help to do. And so I'm really feeling the contraction here, making it stretch and pull, 12 nice reps. Here we go into our delts. Now, with the delts, I have been focusing a great deal on the front delt. I never, ever used to do front delt raises. It was like I just didn't do them. So what's the point? I do heavy barbell bench presses. I do heavy incline presses. And lo and behold, after years of heavy pressing, my side delts were outpowering my front delts. I had very little front delt development to show for it. And of course, you read on the internet, you don't need to do front delts because blah, blah, blah. And it's all just a load of bullshit. You have to find out what you need. Perhaps you do need front delt raises, regardless if you can bench press 500 pounds. It really depends on your personal dimensions. Now, if your front delt is overblown, yeah, I don't think you need to do front delts. But in my case, they were woefully lacking. No vascularity, no size, no definition. And you can tell because the front delt helps define your biceps. Yes, your biceps. If your front delt is bulging, your biceps will also be highly defined and visible. And so here we're just really focusing on our front delts. And they have been working. I can tell you now from experience of doing these for 5, 6, 7 weeks now, I am seeing a noticeable, visible improvement in my front delts, not only in size, in thickness, but also strength. I mean, you cannot deny that by doing a movement and practicing it and increasing your load on it, you will get stronger. And people who hold in little esteem getting stronger just for aesthetics, I find it ridiculous. So anyways, here building up our strength progressions, doing a lot of volume for this particular muscle. That's the other thing, guys. If you want to build out a particular muscle, say it's lagging, you need to bring it up by any means necessary. You're going to throw volume at it. You're going to throw intensity at it. You're going to throw frequency at it. You're going to give it special attention. You're going to do it first or second in your routine. You're going to prioritize that muscle, and especially with the volume. But not only with the volume, but bringing up the weight. So here we're doing 50-pound dumbbells with front raises. Now, when I first started the 50-pound dumbbells, it was a struggle, and it still feels heavy, but it's feeling a lot easier now. It feels just like I'm moving with the muscle. I point my hands down and make the round part of the front delt work. I mean, this feels really good to me. It feels like it's working the front delt. So 50 pounds. 50 pounds is starting to feel easy now. So I decided it's time for an upgrade. Now, where do you go from 50s? Well, go to 55s. Here we go, 55 dumbbells, 55-pound dumbbells. And it felt very doable. I mean, it didn't feel like, oh my God, I can't even, do half a rep. It feels, okay, I can keep on lifting this all day long. It felt that easy. Some may say I'm swinging the weight. If you observe, if you're a good observer, it's starting from a dead point. So it's not swinging from a dead stop. Here we go. Here we're doing a drop set. So we went from, I think it was 55s, 35s, and then I think I eventually dropped down to 20 pounds. I like to do 3 drops on my drop set. So top weight, middle weight, and a lower weight. But in this case, I only did 2 drops. So here we're doing the 55 pounds again. And yeah, it feels heavy. It feels challenging. And it feels great. I can't wait to move up to the 60, 70-pound dumbbells for the front raises. I know I can do them. I know I can do them. And a lot of people get triggered by that. It's very funny how some people really get triggered. In fact, I had an anecdote years ago in a gym in Little Havana when I was first starting to build out my strength. The first time I tried 4 plates on a deadlift, some roided out monster got into my face, and he got very upset that I was going to do 4 plates. He said, no, lower the weight. You're going to hurt yourself. And I said, what's it to you? Get out of me. I confronted him. I didn't back down, and I got my 4 plate reps, and it was great. He got all upset. In a huff, he grabbed his bag, his girlfriend, and ran out the door. It was the weirdest scene I had ever experienced. And so I know that there is a trigger point with people when they see somebody really improving, that some people get really triggered. So here we're doing the triceps extension. very effective doing supersets with biceps curls. Now, this is also an exercise where I've done an upgrade. 50 pounds, I was doing 50 pounds. So we moved up to 55. With the 50 pounds, I was doing 10 reps. Started out with 4 or 5 reps. Very hard. It was a struggle. My arms were hurting. Now we're using 55s. And it's all about progressive overload. Like even old school Larry Scott, the first, like famous bodybuilders. Some of these guys were doing 100-pound dumbbells, man, for biceps. You don't see that very often anymore, but that's what they did to build up their 21, 22-inch arms. And here we're doing 50-pound one-arm triceps extensions. And it still feels heavy. This still feels awkward. I'm still struggling with it. But at least, get 5 reps. So what the heck? Need to continue to practice this move. And it doesn't mean lowering the weight. It means practicing with the 50 pounds. Duh. If you lower the weight, you'll never get good at the 50 pounds. In fact, you'll never be able to do 50 pounds. Lowering the weight is the worst advice you can give somebody, actually, in my opinion. Unless they are a complete newbie and they're going to hurt themselves with some ridiculous weight that they cannot handle. But if it's a weight that it's like borderline, to lower the weight is like, in reality, the worst advice. Don't do it. So here we're going with heavy rear delts. And again, this is not swinging the weight. I am moving the weight with my arm, with my shoulder, yes. Is my back involved? Probably, but not to a great degree. So here we're doing 70 pounds. Now we move up to 80 pounds. And the focus here is the mind muscle. Make sure as you're moving the weight that your rear delt is cramping up. It's your rear delt that's moving, and you can't deny that your rear delt is not involved. That'd be ridiculous to say on a heavy move like this that the rear delt is not being worked. So 80-pound dumbbells. 80 pounds, very heavy. Some people, newbies manage 80 pounds on the back row. Here we're doing them for rear delt flies. And we go up to 90 pounds. Oh, I love this stuff. I'm going to go up to 110 very soon. 110-pound rear delts, flies. Great. If I had 150s, I'd give them a go one of these days. There should be no limit on what you want to try. And yeah, you'll find limits. But probably not. If you're really pushing yourself, you can probably continue to progress for a very long time, as I have been. So here we go to the triceps. Here I'm doing it on an incline bench. I never do this on an incline. I always do them either flat or on a decline. Today I just decided to vary, do a different variation. So we're doing it on the incline bench, and just another set here. 7 reps, good enough. Now we go into our last exercise of the day, and this is the Nautilus machine preacher curl with isolateral movement, one arm at a time. And here I was determined to just work the bicep until it was feeling cramped, not pumped, but until I couldn't move my arm anymore. I said, I'm going to bump this bicep until it won't move anymore. Because I already did my heavy weight. I did the 55-pound dumbbells. And so here we're doing a much lighter weight. I think there's like only 20 pounds on the pins, 20 or 25 pounds on the pins. And that is enough to give it just the right resistance to give it an absolute burn. And that was basically it. That was basically it for today. So little potpourri, little buffet of different exercises, heavy emphasis on the front delts. Don't ignore your rear delts. I'm not doing my side delts because they are overdeveloped in relation to my other muscles, and you should at this stage know what you need to do. And here we're finishing off with our intense work on the biceps. Well, that'll be all for today. Thank you for joining me on this journey of getting stronger as we're getting older. And if a close to 60-year-old guy can get stronger on basic compound lifts, making major improvements, you can do it too. God bless you all. Don't forget to subscribe.